Today we're going to talk about managing stress and coping with life's challenges. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to explain what stress is and how people react to it, physically, emotionally, and behaviorally. Describe how stress impacts your health, list common sources of stress for college students, and describe techniques for preventing and managing stress, including campus resources. Stress has the potential to be a disease. That's right. It's called a disease of prolonged arousal. If a stressor, or what I like to call a threat, lingers, the body deteriorates. I use the word threat so you take it seriously. Stress can be a very good thing though, right? A little stress can challenge and inspire you to perform at your best. For example, stress can motivate you to study for an exam or push yourself harder in a physical competition. Too much, however, known as chronic stress, can disrupt every body system. Too much stress can rob the body of needed nutrients, damage the cardiovascular system, raise blood pressure, increase risk for cancer and diabetes, and dampen the immune system's defenses. Stress can drain your emotional reserves and contribute to depression, anxiety, fatigue, and irritability, impacting relationships with friends, family, and coworkers. It can also leave you sleep deprived and functioning at a fraction of your normal capacity. First-year students report more problems with stress and more negative emotional reactivity to it, like anger, hostility, frustration, and a greater sense of being out of control. What do upperclassmen have that freshmen don't? The biggest two are experience and social support. They have an increased familiarity of their environment, self-efficacy to be successful, and resiliency to bounce back when adversity comes their way. Sophomores and juniors reported fewer problems with these issues, and seniors reported the fewest problems. This may indicate students' progressive emotional growth through experience, maturity, increased awareness of support services, along with more and deeper social connections. I see three types of students that come through my class. The first group takes the struggle bus. They seem to be overwhelmed and unable to be present in the moment to focus on class. The second group of students show up, but that's about it. They are merely existing and go from class to class like a zombie. They are present but not engaged. They are more interested in looking at their phone. The third group thrives. They show up early or on time, interact with their peers and instructors, and engage in the lessons. These students seem to be happy and healthy. We all have our days where we struggle, exist, and thrive. The hope is for the days where we thrive far outnumber the days we struggle or go through the motions. With a proactive, health-focused mindset, a strong social support system, and good time management, you have the power to thrive no matter the circumstances. In 1936, Hans Selye, the father of stress, defined it as the non-specific response of the body to any demand for change. I really like the definition our textbook uses. It defines stress as a series of mental and physical responses and adaptations to real or perceived threats to one's well-being. Notice that stress affects you both mentally and physically, can be a real thing or all in your head, and your response can be different from your adaptation. Let's say you're on the road and someone hits you from behind. Your initial response may be of anger and some not so nice expletives. Now you have to pull over, get out of the car, and engage in a conversation with them. Your adaptation should be a little more cool, calm, and collected, especially since it was an accident after all. If you go in screaming and finger pointing, the person who hit you may become defensive and start yelling back. You know that saying, cooler heads prevail? This is where having a little mindfulness can help you out. Like I said earlier, stress can be a good thing or a bad thing. Used stress presents the opportunity for personal growth and satisfaction and can actually improve health. It can bring you up when you're feeling down. Distress is caused by events that result in debilitative pressure such as academic difficulties or financial problems. There are several kinds of distress: acute stress, episodic acute stress, chronic stress, and traumatic stress. Acute stress is the least demanding type of distress, which is a good thing because it's the most common. It is experienced as an immediate perceived threat, either physical, emotional, or psychological. When acute stress happens frequently, it is called episodic acute stress. People who always seem to be having a crisis, you know what I'm talking about, tend to have this. They are often short-tempered, irritable, and anxious. Chronic stress is just that, prolonged over a period of time and can seem overwhelming. A person suffering from chronic stress may feel unable to regain control over their life. Lastly, traumatic stress is experienced when events such as major accidents, the loss of a loved one, assault, Or natural disaster occurs and you may be hurt or witness horrible things. Effects may be felt for years after the event and cause significant disability, which can lead to post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. What stresses you out may not even bother someone else. There are many factors that influence our perceptions and make things less stressful or more stressful, like age, gender, heredity, personality, social support, and life experiences. Self-efficacy, the confidence in one's ability to complete a task, is considered one of the most important personality traits that influences psychological and physiological stress responses. Action builds confidence, right? This is why seniors tend to have a higher self-efficacy in being successful in college than freshmen. They have sailed the stormy seas, so to speak, and are therefore better, more resilient captains of their ship. For the take-home messages, please understand that stress is inevitable. We all experience it in one way, shape, or another on a daily basis. Perception is our reality. A lot of times our appraisal of life's demands, not the demands themselves, result in the experiences of the stress. Your perception determines your reaction/adaptation, which determines whether or not the stress is enabling or debilitating. Become aware of your triggers and your threshold, which changes daily. Awareness leads to resilience and can prepare you to deal with the stressors, like my man Russell here from the movie Up. Effective stress management is learned and requires continuous practice. Did you get 7 to 9 hours of sleep last night? If not, you started your day at a deficit with a lower stress threshold than you would have had you gotten enough sleep. Think back to your playground days. When boys fall down, what happens? They are typically given tough love. Get up, you're fine. I don't see any blood. Girls, on the other hand, are likely to be given compassionate love. Come here, give me a hug. Are you okay? But as boys grow up and become men, what happens? When adversity hits, they do what they were taught to do from a young age: turn in. Suck it up, figure it out, bury it, or use things like sex and drugs to cope. Only these coping strategies can end up causing more problems. When adversity hits, we must turn out. We all need help and support. Vulnerability increases closeness and strengthens relationships. This is difficult to do if we don't have a strong social support system, and is why we need to invest in our close relationships. Our bodies were designed to handle stress in a physical way, to protect us from harm, because most threats were physical. Take a look at this picture here. When encountering this threat, this man goes into the oh crap crisis mode, the fight or flight response. He has two options: fight as he is choosing to do so, or run away. Once the threat is dealt with and the man is no longer in harm, the body resumes to homeostasis, a balanced physiological state in which all body systems function normally. First characterized by Hans Selye in 1936, the internal fight to restore homeostasis in the face of a stressor is known as the General Adaptation Syndrome, or GAS. The GAS has three distinct phases: alarm, resistance, and exhaustion. Alarm is that oh crap moment, like when the man came face to face with the saber-toothed tiger. This automatically triggers your body to go into fight or flight mode. In the resistance phase, the body does just that: resist the threat. Hopefully you're able to deal with the threat effectively and not dip into the exhaustion phase. Once the threat goes away, the body resumes homeostasis. The GAS can occur in varying degrees of intensity, last varying amounts of time, and be experienced differently by different individuals. If some perceived stressor still exists, the body does not achieve a state of balance. Instead, the body stays activated. Pressure builds, and inspired is replaced by frustration and exhaustion, and the body systems suffer. Take a look at what happens when your body goes into fight or flight mode. Certain body systems are activated to help you fight or flee from the threat, while other body systems are suppressed because they aren't needed. In saying that, you can see why chronically being in this heightened state of alertness can cause things like hair loss, heart disease, weight gain, diabetes, along with digestive and sexual problems. Sexual problems? Yeah, that's right, you heard me correctly. Chronic stress causes your body to produce too much of the hormone cortisol, which can lower your libido, or sex drive. Going back to the caveman in the saber-toothed tiger picture, what happens if he freezes? Which is actually another defense response. He will die. Thankfully for him, though, it will be a quick death. In today's society, most of our stressors aren't physical, are they? They're psychosocial. You can't kill or run away from your baby. Well, I guess you can, but you'll end up in jail. If the threat lingers and you aren't doing anything to manage the stress, you essentially freeze, the body deteriorates. However, the death is much slower than the encounter with the tiger, so we must do something. Exercise is one of the best ways to get your body back to homeostasis because it allows your body to do what it is supposed to do when it goes in a fight or flight response. Get physical. However, unless the cause of your stress is from not exercising, it will only make you feel better temporarily. It will not solve your problems. The good thing is that it can calm you down to a reasonable state of mind to where you can communicate your feelings and work the problem out. Depending on your situation, your stress management technique will vary. For example, exercise is my go-to. If I'm at work and I'm hit with a stressful situation, I can't just leave the office and go run it out. Taking some deep belly breaths, seeking the counsel of a trusted colleague, and brainstorming through my options to determine the best course of action is far more realistic in this situation. You need to find what works best for you, given the situation. Several types of negative self-talk can make things more stressful. Pessimists focus on the negative. Perfectionists expect superhuman standards and are thus never satisfied. Shoulders focus on and beat themselves up over the things that they think they should have done. Blamers blame themselves or others for their circumstances. And dichotomous thinkers only see in black and white, with no in between. To combat negative self-talk, we must first become aware of it, then stop it, and finally replace the negative thoughts with positive ones, a process called cognitive restructuring. Your life is how you see it, so your perspective or mindset is everything. The good news is that you have the power to change it, to see things differently, from a new lens, one that has a much more positive impact on your life and the lives of those around you. Let me explain. Mindfulness is a purposeful, non-judgmental awareness. It's paying attention in the present moment with curiosity, kindness, and flexibility without automatically reacting, trying to change, escape, or dismiss our experiences. Mindfulness practice enables us to make wise choices. Things are happening for you rather than to you. Have you ever been put in a situation or something happened to you where you reacted with, "Why me? Why now?" But then you persevere through it and come out on the other side stronger, better, smarter? Hindsight is 20/20, right? You see now that it happened for you, not to you. The next time you encounter a challenge, having this mindset will give you a sense of optimism to stand tall, learn from it, and come out stronger. Different isn't necessarily wrong. Do you do things a certain way and view your way as the only way? Think about your roommate when it comes to cooking or cleaning. If they offer to help and their way is different from yours, does it frustrate you? Just because they do it differently doesn't make it wrong. Focus on the positive with gratitude, as intentional gratefulness enhances empathy and reduces aggression.
You may have heard this word mindfulness. It's become something of a buzz phrase of late. I'm going to give you one simple, serviceable definition, which is this. Mindfulness is the ability to know what's happening in your head at any given moment without getting carried away by it. Imagine how useful this could be. Just as an example, driving down the road and somebody cuts you off in traffic. How do you normally react? I think most of us, we normally react by having a thought, which is, I'm pissed. And then what happens next? You immediately, habitually, reflexively inhabit that thought. You actually become pissed. There's no buffer between the stimulus and your reaction. With just a little bit of mindfulness, in that same situation, you might notice my chest is buzzing, my ears are turning red, I'm having a starburst of self-righteous thoughts, I'm getting angry. But you don't necessarily have to act on it and chase that person down the road, screaming at them with your kids in the back of the car thinking you've gone nuts. Now, you might be thinking, don't I need to get angry sometimes? Aren't I justified? I would say yes, but probably not as much as you think. The proposition here is not that you should be rendered by mindfulness into some lifeless, non-judgmental blob. The proposition is that you should learn how to respond wisely to things that happen to you, rather than just reacting blindly. And that, my friends, is a superpower. How do you get it? The way to get it is through meditation. I believe that meditation and mindfulness are the next big public health revolution. In the 1940s, if you told somebody you were going running, they would have said, who's chasing you? But then what happened next? The scientists swooped in, they showed that physical exercise is really good for you, and now all of us do it, and if we don't, we feel guilty about it. And that's where I think we're headed with mindfulness and meditation. It's going to join the pantheon of no-brainers like brushing your teeth, eating well, and taking the meds your doctor prescribed for you. Let me just close by saying, mindfulness is not going to solve all of your problems. It's not going to render your life a nonstop parade of unicorns and rainbows. Nonetheless, this is a superpower, and one that is accessible by you immediately.
Research has proven that mindful meditation can essentially rewire your brain. It boosts creativity and memory, improves sleep, helps with anxiety and depression, and results in smarter choices. Powerful stuff. Belly breathing is a great tool to have in your toolkit for stress relief. Let's say you walk into a classroom on test day and you feel your nerves are getting the best of you. Take a few moments to focus on belly breathing to lower your heart rate so you can perform better on the exam. In order to do this, you have to be standing up with good posture, lying down, or sitting up like the girl pictured here. You want to breathe in and out with your belly. This sounds easy, but doesn't naturally happen when we are stressed. During stressful times, our breathing is typically short and centered around our chest. Let's give it a go. Sit up straight. Place one hand on your chest and the other hand on your belly. As you take the following deep breaths, the hand on your belly should go out and in, while the hand on your chest stays put. Take a deep breath in through your nose and exhale slowly through your mouth. Concentrate on the act of breathing. Focus on inhaling and exhaling and the rise and fall of your stomach. Very good. In talking with students who don't do well academically, they tend to struggle with time management and prioritization of tasks. Procrastination piles more and more on their plate, and then boom, they become overwhelmed. A lot of school stress can be alleviated by consciously anticipating and preparing for specific stressors. Look at your syllabi as soon as you get them, and mark due dates on a calendar. Teachers don't get together to schedule tests and project due dates on the same day or week throughout the semester, but it often works out that way. If you mark them down and notice you have several exams on the same day, you can start earlier and stagger your studying. Proactive heads always prevail. Teachers are more willing to work with students who transparently communicate with them on the front end of things. If an assignment is due at midnight, don't wait until 11:45 to do it. If you run into a snag, there isn't enough time for you to email the teacher and wait for them to respond with a solution. Take a look at these 4 quadrants. We all have our easy days, not so easy days, and difficult days. When it's crunch time and we have more have-tos tasks on our plate, the less want-tos we get to do. This is why planning ahead is key. For example, I know I do my best work when I can spread a project out over several days, which still allows me to get in some daily want-tos, like exercise. If I wait until the last minute, the pressure builds, the work is rushed, and the quality suffers, as does the relationships for those around me. You're going to hear this word resiliency a lot in this course. Resiliency is your ability to recover quickly from difficulties. Bouncing back from adversity is easier said than done. It certainly helps if you have experience, strong social support, and a growth mindset. We'll talk a lot more about your mindset in the psychological health lesson, but for now, know that a growth mindset thrives on challenges and sees failure not as evidence of foolishness, but as a hopeful springboard for growth and for stretching our existing abilities. My encouragement to you is to be like a palm tree, as they are designed to bend. During a storm, you might look at a palm tree flattened against the ground and think it's a goner. But when the storm dies down, the palm tree is able to stand upright again. And after the storm, it actually comes back better and stronger than ever. Sometimes the storms that hit us are impossible to avoid. We are made to withstand even the most difficult storms. Hang on, seek help, and you'll come out on the other side stronger than ever. The KISS method states that most systems work best if they are kept simple. In other words, less is more. Have you ever had an English teacher assign a 10-page paper? After grading it, they give it back and want you to edit it down to 5 pages without cutting any key content? You think, how in the heck am I supposed to do that? You have to basically edit out the fluff. Even though the paper has fewer pages, it ends up being better. Oftentimes we try to knock out several tasks at once, thinking it will work out better for us. In the end, we incur a loss of time, decreases in performance, and an increase in stress levels. There are 2 types of multitasking, background tasking and switch tasking. When most people say they're multitasking, they're usually referring to switch tasking. Background tasking can actually improve productivity overall, but only works when one of the tasks is mindless, like exercising while you listen to music or running the washing machine while you study. Switch tasking, on the other hand, is when you attempt to do multiple attention-requiring tasks at the same time, like texting and driving or texting during class. Do this activity to see switch tasking in action. I got this from Dave Crenshaw's book, The Myth of Multitasking, How Doing it all Gets Nothing Done. On a sheet of paper, write down the sentence, switch tasking is a thief, and then on the next line, write the numbers 1 through 21, since there are 21 letters in the sentence above. Use a stopwatch and write down your time when you're done. Once you do this, turn your paper over so you can't cheat on the next pass. This time you're going to switch task. Write one letter and then one number, going back and forth until done. Pay attention to how you're feeling as you do this and write down your time when done. After completing this activity, it is easy to see how when switch tasking, the time to complete things goes up, the quality of your work goes down, the stress levels for you and those around you go up, and the quality of your relationships go down. This activity doesn't speak to the quality of your relationships, but think about sharing something difficult with a friend. While listening to you, they pull out their phone and respond to a text. How do you feel? They have disconnected with you to connect with someone else. Not cool. That's how I feel when students are on their phone in my class. I encourage you to be mindful of how you choose to cope with your stress. Will your cure actually cause more problems later on? It is best to choose strategies that will build you up, not break you down. As you strive to maintain your balance with all your responsibilities as a college student, don't be afraid to reach out to a friend, RA, teacher, counselor, etc. for additional help. Remember, we all need help and support. When times get tough, we must turn out, not in. To wrap up, understand that stress is inevitable, and how you perceive and react is key to whether stresses are enabling or debilitating. Thanks for watching.